am a NEM core team member, and I've been with the team since January of 2014. I'm also the co-founder of what was the NEM Foundation, and I'm a big community member. I love everything NEM.
Okay, what's going on with blockchain?
Mm.
What is the next, and why it's so important? Be like after the pandemic.
So what's next with blockchain? I think that the kind of easy. So first of all, everybody thinks about blockchain as money, and I definitely think that blockchain is money, and it's a great way of thinking about money. I love Bitcoin. I love a lot of other coins. Of course, I love NEM. But I think that it's very hard to get people to adopt money. So there was a big news announcement yesterday about PayPal, and I think this is something that the ecosystem needs. We need PayPal accepting cryptocurrencies. But is that going to all of a sudden make Bitcoin have adoption? Not really. Because it's really hard to get mass adoption when it comes to cryptocurrency because the fiat is already so entrenched. But I think there are other ways for blockchain to get mass adoption, and very quickly. I know that there's a project in South Korea where they were able to put driver licenses on the blockchain. And so this one company, it's a major telecom, they made an app. Their app, there's 50 million people in South Korea, and they've had over 10 million downloads of their app, and at least 1 million confirmed users of people that now have a blockchain driver's license. And I think that kind of thing, and so like anywhere from 1 million to 10 million people, there's blockchains that have been around for 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 years, and they still don't even have 1 million users. Whereas this one app in South Korea has been able to get more than 1 million users in just a couple of months. And so the way I see it is, when you think about things like driver's licenses or identity or voting, we have the big election coming up right now. And some people are starting to experiment with blockchain voting. I think in 4 more years or 8 more years, we can see whole elections in some countries or cities or states on the blockchain. And so that's another way to get 1 million people or 5 million people in one go, is by putting everybody on the blockchain for a vote. And so I see these kind of lower hanging fruits as ways to get mass adoption for blockchain. Once people are more familiar with their driver's license blockchain or their voting blockchain or some of these other blockchains, then they're going to be a lot more comfortable using money with PayPal to buy things off of Amazon or eBay or wherever. Yeah. So that's kind of my thoughts.
Yeah. What do you see as the single most important and trendy technology right now? What's going on with impact investment?
With investment, or can you say that again real quick?
Yeah, like my question about what is the next big technology and what's going on with impact investment?
The big technology and outside of blockchain or within blockchain?
Yeah. Outside and plus because it's like a little bit hype about DeFi, like decentralized finance.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. So let's talk about DeFi for a moment. It's huge, right? DeFi is this giant thing, and we have a DeFi project on NEM, which I think is a huge win-win. It's this project called Stakehound. They're able to take coins from the NEM chain, wrap them, and then put them in the ETH ecosystem as a ERC20 contract, and then allow people to participate in these ICOs or do leverage trading or any of the great things that you're seeing going on in ETH right now. But it's even better because what you can do is we have a supernode program, or we have a way for people to stake coins on NEM and earn interest. And a lot of people, maybe they don't have very much money. So if they're wrapping their token in this wrapped, the company stakehounds automatically running those super nodes, and then their rewards get automatically added. So it's like a staking as a service plus enter into DeFi. Now, that is a project I love. Okay. I see a real big win-win. It secures the network. More people are staking. The people that are staking get more money. They're able to have more leverage on their funds and come in and out without having to close down or open up a node, right? But outside of that, I haven't seen a lot of huge DeFi projects that get me very excited. Now, in generally, I'm very excited about DeFi. I think that it's something that we need, but the way I see it right now is, to me, and this is just my opinion, right? There's a lot of projects that don't have a high market cap. They don't have a lot of liquidity. They need money. And so this DeFi is a way for them to get some money. But the problem is they don't have a real product. They don't have a real project in the first way. And so DeFi doesn't ultimately help them out. It just causes a pump and dump on their coin price and allows them to get money that they probably shouldn't have been able to get in the first place because they didn't have a good enough organization. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I do think that someday there's going to be a killer app. And to get that killer app to grow, DeFi will be very helpful. So it's a whole question of what comes first, PayPal or eBay. Well, which comes first, a killer app or DeFi? If there is a killer app, something that has millions of users and a high market cap, and they need that liquidity and they need it quick, DeFi is there, ready for them. But giving DeFi to projects that are not a killer app is like giving PayPal, a giant, huge PayPal, to a website that only makes 1 or 2 orders a day. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I'm really happy with all the work that's being done. And I think it lays the groundwork for us to get that killer app. I just haven't seen a lot of people using it in a way right now that impresses me. So, but I think it's here to stay. Yep.
Yeah, and what do you think? What are the competitive advantages for the blockchain, for the crypto, and for the DeFi? Maybe it should be like your prediction for the tech industry during the next, maybe like a 3 or 4 years.
Well, I mean, one thing that I'm really excited about, and with any new technology, is its ability to create, not just disrupt an old industry, but create a whole new industry. And we're still waiting for blockchain to create something that's never been done. It's right now, blockchain's just trying to, disrupt previously existing verticals. So I'm very excited if we can see that happening as a technology that can do so many things. I do believe that will happen. It still seems like we're a little bit young to overtake the world, but one PayPal at a time is great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about startups. What is like the best idea for the blockchain startup right now? And maybe what are the skills needed to be a unicorn founder in blockchain space?
So I think, yeah, coming up with a novel idea that's creating a new industry or creating a new service that nobody's ever had before is great. A lot of people lack imagination to come up with that idea. And so that's part of the problem. But if somebody has that idea, I think it's a wonderful thing. Now, when it comes to having a unicorn founder, I think that for better or for worse, we live in a world of Twitter where your product is only half of what you are. And I think this is very apparent by Donald Trump winning the election. Wasn't a politician, didn't know anything about politics. Some people wonder if he still knows very much, but he had a great Twitter presence, and he was able to tweet all day. And that ability to tweet got him elected. And I think that the same can almost be said for Tesla. when it comes to Tesla and Elon Musk, like I love a Tesla. I have a Tesla, right?
Yeah.
But really, there's no marketing for Tesla. There's no advertisements that I've seen on TV or in magazines or on subway rides. Nobody's advertising it. No billboards where I live. And yet somehow everybody knows who it is. And how do they know? And it's basically, is it because the Tesla Twitter is famous? No, it's Elon Musk. Elon Musk tweets, and then the news talks about it. And people write articles and people reshare and retweet and they make comments about it on Facebook and they share. A magazine writes an article and they share that. And this is much of what happened with Donald Trump. He didn't get elected because he had a great history as a legislator making good laws. He got elected because he said stuff. And he said stuff, and then people wrote articles about it and people reshared those articles. And so I see these kind of two examples of what it takes to survive. And, for better or for worse, Justin Tron is really good at that in the blockchain world. He basically took a code from Ethereum, and has become really good at tweeting and making partnerships, and have taken a product and, now it has a high market cap. And so I think anybody who is going to be a founder of a new startup, would probably should probably look at Elon Musk's Twitter and see, because he's made a real product. He has a lot of great followers, and his ability to tweet and communicate with his audience gets reshared a lot. And I think that that's part of doing that. And, NEM is worth more than $1 billion. And I was part of the team that created NEM. I don't consider myself to be a unicorn founder, right? But I can kind of relate a little bit about what it's like to be a part of a team that's created something that's worth more than $1 billion. And, our Twitter feed on NEM has 200,000 followers, all organic. None of those are fake. Well, none of those are paid fake followers that we just bought, right? Those are all people that have signed up and clicked on our Twitter. We have a lot of great announcements there. And I think that us tweeting is a really good way to connect our community.
Interesting. Why is community so important for the blockchain and decentralized finance and for the new type of the startups after the COVID? Why is community so important?
Well, the community has the most ideas. I mean, what's better to have one person try to figure it all out, or have 200,000 people give you suggestions? Now, sometimes 200,000 people is overwhelming. And sometimes you have to learn how to filter through what are the good ideas and the bad ideas. And sometimes there's so many good ideas that you can't do them all. You just have to pick this one idea looks like a good idea. Let's go with it. Even if these other ones are good ideas, we can't go with them. But, there's a lot of great in NEM. The community has given us a lot of great feedback that has altered our path and our choices. And so I think that's important. Another obvious answer is community is essentially your investors, your shareholders, right? And if they're happy, they invest more. And if they're not happy, then they sell. And so that is,
it's tricky.
Yeah, I shouldn't say the community is investors or shareholders. They're not exactly like that, but they're not unlike that, right? So there's some relation there. Yep.
Jeff, what is your superpower?
And my superpower.
What is your secret sauce?
I really love science fiction, and I really love cerebral science fiction. So I really love science fiction that you have to think deeply a lot. My favorite movie is Cloud Atlas, because it's so hard to understand, but then when you think about it and you understand it, it's pretty profound. So I love to think about things very deeply, and I love to imagine a different world. And so that's what sci-fi is about. It's about imagining a different world. And I'm constantly doing that with the real world. I'm imagining a future world where things are better or sometimes worse, right? But but I imagine these worlds, and I've been doing it all my life, trying to predict what's going on. So my superpower is probably recognizing patterns of what is happening and what is going to happen, and then being able to leverage my predictions of what I think is going to happen and be prepared for that. And so that's kind of what I do very well and has paid off for me, is being able to recognize patterns and see them repeating and then use that to predict the future.
Interesting. And what is the next big thing? What is the future of space technology and health tech, and maybe future of blockchain and digital assets? And it's same like for the technology trends. What is the next for the machine learning, for the robotics? What do you think?
Well, I've already said I'm a fan of Elon Musk. So this Neuralink thing that he's come out with, it's very scary to a lot of people. The idea of putting a computer chip in your brain that allows you to think faster and get data. But when you think about it, can you think, are there people that are going to pay a lot of money to become smarter? Well, definitely. And so will it give them advantage? Definitely. Is he going to make a lot of money doing this? And are people going to adopt it? Sure. It might not be me. It might not be you, but I guarantee you it will be a very successful product and will end up causing some revolutions in some ways. So I think that as crazy as it sounds and as kind of scary as it sounds, Neuralink, having a computer chip in your brain in 20 years from now, is going to be huge. And that goes right in with AI, like what you mentioned. If you have a great AI and then you have a Neuralink, then you can leverage the AI with your Neuralink. Am I going to get one? Not on generation 1, not on generation 2. I can tell you that. There's going to have to be other people that go before me. And then I need to look and see, would it be a good fit for me or not? I can tell you right now, it's not a good fit for me, but but I don't know about, Neuralink version 10. We'll have to wait and see when that comes. Yeah.
It's so funny. Okay, let's talk about millennial capital. What's going on with new type of investors? Sometimes it's called like Robinhood generation. And let's talk about new gen TikTok generation. So what is your prediction or investment strategy?
Yeah, the investment strategy I would give to every new generation person is something that I basically am ripping off from Warren Buffett. I heard Warren Buffett say this a long time ago. I'm now I'm a not unsuccessful investor. I definitely have my share of investments spread out here and there. And I followed his advice. And his advice was basically live like you are a student. Don't take any money off the table. Any money that you make, immediately reinvest it. Basically into the point that it's stupid not to take money off the table. And so, when I had graduated from university, in graduate school, I had huge student debts, and I got a nice job. I was not too long after, I was an assistant professor. And as an assistant professor, I had a choice to pay, my $500 or $1,000. It was $1,000 every month. And pay that $1,000 and, slowly pay off my student loans. But I chose not to. I chose to put as much money as I could aside from my job and pay off my student loans. It was basically like I was a student, had no money, then graduated, got a good job, still lived like I had no money, even though I did. Still continued to live in a little bitty apartment, still continued to eat ramen noodles, still continued to not go out or go on trips or vacations, put all my money on the table, and I started investing. And initially the investments weren't very good, but they started to pay off. And when they paid off, I reinvested, I doubled down, continued to put money on until finally I had my investments had grown enough where I was like, okay, at this point, it's stupid to still live like a student. I think there's a big mistake when people are having a successful investment, and then they immediately take that money and they buy a new phone or a new car or upgrade their apartment. I think that's a huge mistake. I think that the only money you should be spending as a young investor is investing and hodling. When it comes to cryptocurrency, hodl. That's it. It's a long hodl. Put that money in, hodl, and put more money in. And I know that sounds a little bit silly, but that's exactly what I did, and it worked out very well for me. So just keep on doubling down. Yeah, live like a student until it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great advice. What about the crypto market? Is it the global casino or retirement fund? What do you think?
It's both, right? I mean, if you're a true believer in cryptocurrency, and I am, if you're a believer in Bitcoin or Ethereum or coins like NEM, then you believe that it's a fundamentally better way of thinking about money. It's a fundamentally better way of having money and spending money. And it's going to take a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fiat is entrenched. Fiat doesn't want to give up its hold. But like I said, with the PayPal announcement, we're getting that much closer to becoming more accepted. And I think it will happen. I think that people will have their eyes opened. And so I think really just a small amount of Bitcoin or NEM or some of these other coins will have huge returns if you're doing a long-term retirement type investment. If you're young and you're thinking about, I'm starting my retirement savings and I'm going to put it in the stock market or I'm going to put it in crypto, there's just no doubt in my mind. Put it in crypto. You will get much higher returns for your retirement. Now, is it a casino? Yes. So don't just go all in on one coin. Some of those coins might go up 10,000%. Some of them might go down 5,000%. So be prepared to see extreme losses and extreme gains. But if you cost average buy-in, if you spread out your crypto portfolio, you should be a big winner.
Okay, and what's going on with regulatory frameworks? What is the trend EU right now and after the election? What is your prediction? Because yeah, the main reason they should talk about personal data.
I think that personal data is going to be more and more important, and people will be more educated on the topic. And there's a lot of great people right now trying to do that. Brittany Kaiser from The Great Hack is working really hard to allow people to have their own information right now. And I think that once people get educated exactly what's going on, then they'll be more aware and start to protect their data. As far as regulation goes, regulation's so slow. I almost feel like regulation for the government is the only thing slower than the government is the Catholic Church. So last week, the Catholic Church just finally said same-sex marriage is okay, right? And it takes them 50 years. And government, it probably takes 20 or 25 years. So if we're hoping for the government to save us, yeah, it will, but it's going to take a long time. And before the government steps in, it's our responsibility to protect ourselves and do it the best we can. So, I think that owning your own data is important, especially when it comes to blockchain. I think that identity is so important. And in fact, I think that for mass adoption, getting identity on blockchain in a way that's done correctly unlocks everything. Because and identity's often been hard. Like people think that money is the killer app of the blockchain, and it's definitely a killer app. But really, you need identity before you can do money right. So if you can do identity, then money is no problem. If you can do identity, then voting is no problem. If you can do identity, then property titles and having car titles and house titles, having college degrees, having anything on the blockchain becomes super easy once you've done identity correctly. So it's the piece of the puzzle that goes in. And how do we know that? Well, that's how the traditional world works. If you try to open up a bank account right now and you don't have identity, does that work? If you try to vote and you don't have identity, does it work? If you try to be a worker or make payments or whatever, and you don't have an identity and you try to work at a company, it doesn't work, right? So for blockchain to really get into all of these things, we need a good identity system. And so I'm pretty excited about seeing identity on the blockchain. And once you have identity, then we go back to GDPR. Now you can start to protect your data, because if you can anonymize who you are and on the internet and on the blockchain, where people no longer know who Jeff is, or even my online identity changes every day, so they can't track me anymore. These are the things that blockchain is going to allow to do it. Now, Apple has gone a long way towards protecting people's identity. But I think if Apple can get into blockchain and combine that with identity, then wow. Whereas Facebook, Google, Amazon, they're huge offenders at mining your data, figuring out who you are and manipulating you. So I really see it as like an Apple versus Google conversation. And how can blockchain help Apple? Because we don't want Google getting into blockchain. And to protect your identity. That's definitely, they would use blockchain to just, harvest more data from you.
And what do you think about what is the next social impact after the pandemic? Maybe like in big picture. Let's talk about like the blockchain economy and what's going on with central banks, the finance system, and plus energy and food. Actually, supply delivery too.
Well, I think,
and traditional capital too.
I think that the COVID pandemic has been in some ways great for decentralization. And before, this is one of the big problems with blockchain, is that it was a decentralized technology and people weren't convinced about decentralization. They didn't understand what the power was. And there was a lot of jobs that were, told that you can't do your job from home. And now they're told that they can do their job from home. And I think there's a lot of organizations right now that are really considering about becoming decentralized organizations. And so I feel like it's opening the door for decentralization. Once people get better ideas about decentralization, then I think they'll be more open to blockchain. So I'm happy. I mean, I'm super sad about COVID. Don't get me wrong. It's terrible, but there are some positive things. There's a lot of medical breakthrough, like vaccine research hasn't ever seen this much money and this much energy and focus ever as it is since COVID has come. And I'm 100% convinced that some of these new vaccine techniques that they're developing just to make COVID will be used to treat other diseases that weren't profitable for, like malaria. Where's our malaria vaccine? Where's our HIV vaccine, right? And I firmly believe that some of this vaccine technology will be used, maybe not malaria, maybe HIV, but maybe so, will be used to help treat these diseases that have plagued us, that people didn't give time or energy into because it was a third world disease, or if it was an Africa disease or developing country disease, right? And I think now with these vaccines coming, new technology, it'll be great. So, it's nice to see some good things like decentralization or advances in vaccines come because of COVID. And I'm sure there's a lot of other ways that will be better for it. Don't get me wrong. I think overall we're worse, but there is some positive things to think about.
Let's talk about insights and beyond next 15 years. What is your prediction for the VR, XR, for the robotics, for the green energy and education technologies?
Oh, it's huge. It's
Yeah,
huge.
self-tracking devices.
Oh, I mean, virtual reality will finally come. There's a big problem with virtual reality right now is that the headsets are big, they're bulky, it's a little bit slow, glitchy, people get motion sickness or headaches. But in 15 years from now, they should have all that worked out where VR becomes comfortable and easy to use. The same with AI, the same with computer processing power getting better. I think that all these things are just going to grow, and blockchain will be able to help us and enable us to do these things. I've seen some really cool non-fungible asset and blockchain things where people are creating virtual worlds, and then now there's non-fungible assets, whether that's a ticket or a statue or a piece of land or a sword or whatever, coming to the virtual world. I think a great way to secure those is with blockchain in the future. So there's a lot of great stuff.
How it's work for the deep technologies or deep fakes?
Well, we live,
because it's really important right now for the fake news too.
Yeah, I mean, we live in a world where fake news gets more clicks and more shares and more likes than real news. And there's this feedback loop where the more people click on a fake news site, the more fake news articles show up in their feed, and it just reinforces their fake beliefs. And so deep fakes are just going to make it even more difficult and real for fake news to be created. I do believe what will eventually happen is, I mean, we're at this stage right now where fake news and real news a lot of times look the same to the viewer. But even with deep fakes coming, there has to be some way in the future to kind of regulate news or say, hey, this is a reputable news site. This is a reputable tweet. And even now we can see Facebook and Twitter doing that, where they're coming in and saying, because they have to say, hey, this tweet, that's not how COVID works. Or this tweet, this is fake election news, right? And I think that's great that they're doing that. And I think that it almost has to be done in a digital world to protect the people. Amazon did this, for instance. eBay did this when they gave stars on sellers. Like if you weren't giving reputation to sellers on Amazon, then anybody could come in and try to sell anything. And a lot of customers would get hurt. But what makes eBay so successful, what makes Amazon so successful, is you can read product reviews. Like, I don't know if this is a good thing or not. Wow, everybody says they love it, and this is exactly what I need. And this seller has 4 or 5 stars. I can trust them. Well, that hasn't happened with news yet. It hasn't happened with news, but I do feel like someday there will be a rating system for news. That allows people. There's another project. I keep on talking about South Korea, but there's another project in South Korea called Publish, which is working on doing exactly that, combining blockchain with news reputation so that reporters and writers of real articles can get rewards and build up their reputation. Because how nice would it be when you open the newspaper or a digital website to be able to see a little star rating by that author's name, or see a little star rating by that article saying, hey, this article has been vouched by the community. This author has been vouched by the community, because right now we don't know. And Steemit, which, to be fair to Steemit, is probably one of the few blockchain platforms that actually achieved what it said it was going to do. the scope of Steemit was, hey, we're going to get people to write blogs, and a lot of people wrote blogs with Steemit. Now, I would have rather have seen a better reputation system built into Steemit that was done in a way so that the rich and the powerful don't just get paid, but a way that true community people can rate articles and authors and not have money and tokenomics influence it as much. I think that could have made Steemit more powerful. But, yeah.
No, it's yeah, you're right. What is your advice for the startups who should actually survive during the pandemic?
Find something that needs fix and fix it. Find something that needs fixing and fix it. I have not always been,
yeah, it's really difficult time for the fundraising, you have no chance. The investors face to face,
I mean,
and I don't know how it's look like for the Zoom. It's crazy, but yeah.
Well, I mean, look, I guess I can say I know a good idea when I see one. So for instance, the other day I was eating an Impossible Burger. I don't know if you've ever had an Impossible Burger.
Yeah. Actually, this is my favorite startup in impact investment. This is its great idea. And plus it was like an IPO company.
Yeah.
It's really profitable for the investors.
Yes. So when I think about something like Impossible Burger, I see an idea which obviously, again, it comes back to what I said about Neuralink. Will someone buy this? Will someone use it? And the answer is, if you can make a vegetarian product that is cheaper, tastes better for the environment, better for your health, will people buy it? Yes. In fact, there almost becomes, for a lot of people don't care. Meat eater, vegetarian, they're just practical. Right. And if you can offer them a product for the people that don't really care about being a meat eater or a vegetarian, but you offer them a product that's cheaper, tastes better, lasts longer, it's better for their health, then they're going to buy it. And Impossible is not right now cheaper. It's a lot more expensive than beef, a lot more expensive. Does it taste better? Well, that remains to be seen. Some people say yes, most people say no. But it is close enough that if you put a real hamburger next to an Impossible Burger, a lot of people have a hard time thinking that which one is the impossible. Like, it's not clear. It's so close to meat that a lot of people will even pick the wrong burger and say that must be the fake one, and look at Impossible and say that must be the real one. And so what I can say with startup founders is find an idea where people will buy your product, that people will use your product, develop the product. And if you come up with a good idea, there will be investors. It's hard to come up with those ideas, right? And I think most startups I see are really bad ideas. Like most startups I see are ideas where I look at them and I'm like, yeah, I don't really know if the world needs your product. Right? It looks like you're just trying to start a company for the sake of trying to start a company. Right. And so that's my feedback. I've given that feedback for a lot of people that have pitched to me.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Because a lot of ideas after the pandemic, they look completely different, and they should use like the pivot, and maybe you give like a special advice for these companies as well.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of companies that have done really well because of the pandemic. Amazon has been bustling. Instacart has been bustling. Instacart has done so much better. Then there's a lot of other travel and hotels,
yes, exactly.
Airlines. They've been hurt. But I think it's about what I said. My superpower is looking at patterns, observing the world. Here's another thing. Is this our last pandemic? Probably not.
No.
Yeah. What are the conditions that made this pandemic possible? Too many humans living too close together on top of and with animals, right? And Is that likely to get worse or better in the future? It's likely to get worse. Will that mean there's more pandemics? There will be more pandemics. And to be honest, we were very lucky with this strain of COVID because SARS and MERS had a death rate of 10 to 30, sometimes even more than 30%. This version of coronavirus has been, compared to the other versions of coronaviruses, has been not deadly at all. In fact, most young people, whenever they get it, they don't even know they have it, right? Whereas there's some forms of the flu that are not contagious from person to person, but when they're contagious from animal to person. And when people get those, there's death rates 10, 20, 30, 40% of people that get those strains of flus. If that strain of flu was ever able to adapt and go from, instead of just animal to human, but also human to human transmission, it would be a big problem for the world. And it would, in some ways, this pandemic has been great because it's been like a test, just a tester, just a warm up for what could be a much worse pandemic. And now we're a little bit more prepared. We kind of know what we should and shouldn't be doing. And we have a lot of data from this pandemic of things that did and did not work that will allow us, if a truly deadly flu or another coronavirus comes, that will be much more prepared.
Yeah, you're right. It's a great idea. And what is your advice for the investors? They're the best investment opportunity. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my
advice short, of course, in short term, like in 6 months or maybe in 2 years.
Okay, so my best advice for long term, like I said, is never take money off the table unless it's stupid not to. In short term, I'm going to plug, but I really think this is a plug, but I really think it is a solid investment. I'm part of the team that launched the NEM blockchain 5 years ago. And we've been around for 6 years because it took us a long time to build the blockchain before it was launched. And this same team now, with our 6 years of experience, with a lot more funding, with a lot bigger team and a lot more experienced team, is launching our next blockchain this December. Wow. Yeah, this December, and it's called Symbol. And basically everybody who has one coin on the NEM blockchain will get airdropped one coin on the Symbol blockchain. We're not doing an ICO. There's no way to invest. It's just a 1-for-1 coin airdrop or chain drop. You know, it's not even an airdrop, it's a chain drop. And what's going to happen is, you know, NEM for a long time was a top 10 coin for a very long time. And then we had the largest hack of all time in cryptocurrency, the coin check hack, where over $500 million of XEM was stolen. And then after that, we've been struggling in the teens or the 20s as far as market cap. But I'm completely convinced that with our launch of our 2.0 blockchain, this is like ETH 2.0 essentially. Now, so NEM and Ethereum started at the same time. Yeah. But Ethereum started with a lot of money and a lot of investments from VCs and backers, and NEM was truly community and volunteer funded. Well, Symbol, this is our second blockchain, has been able to do everything right every step of the way as far as development, putting together the team. We're launching it this December, and it's coming out. And I would be shocked if it didn't become a long-standing top 10 blockchain again. And so it's just our team's that good. Our developers are that good. And there's been a lot of planning and thought that went into this. And so, you know, anytime between now and December, it's a great time to buy XEM to get that chain drop when Symbol comes. But even after, it should just continue to go up after it's launched. For the short term, I don't, in cryptocurrency, in the whole blockchain ecosystem, in the short term, if you're looking for a 3 to 4 or 5 month investment, I don't see any investment that's better than XEM and NEM right now. Hands down, stands the most of growth. And another thing is, you know, at the all-time high, one XEM was worth $2. and now it's at 10 cents. So it's like 95% off right now.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of people expect for it to hit a new all-time high. So we'll see. We'll see. No promises,
We'll
but
see.
that's what
We'll
people
see.
are talking about.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, Jeff, thank you for this interview, for this live stream. I was so excited.
Yep, sure.
Yeah.
It's great talking to you as always. Let's do it again sometime.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, let's do it something together. Okay, thank you so much. Have a good one.
You too.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.